Hey, welcome back to this week's podcast. So look, I wanted to share with you a story this week about how to sell into corporate organizations. And I want to use an example of some business that I've done recently. So last week, and I'll actually share a screenshot of this, I closed a further piece of business with a corporate for around £84,000 worth of work over the next 4 months. To add to an existing project that I've done, we just recently signed with them for 36k. So I've done over a piece of business worth over £124,000 with a corporate organisation, and that's for me and my training and what I offer as a sales trainer and mentor. And people might look at it and go, "Wow, that's a big number!" And how did you get that? And what did you do to have to sell into that corporate organisation? And so I'm going to share with you over the course of the next podcast how it happened and what I did and what I had to do to make that sale happen. And I'm going to be open and honest about some of the things that I've had to do and some of the elements around it, and some things to bear in mind when it comes to selling into corporates. But I do this because a lot of organizations want to sell into corporate organizations. They want to generate big numbers and big business. And I get that totally, because when you do bring in business like that, it's fantastic and you can do it, achieve a number of things. But it also comes with a number of things you've got to accept and be part of as part of the process and what to do. So look, I'm going to share that in the course of the podcast. There's quite a few points I want to cover here, so apologies if it's a little bit longer than normal, but I just think these points are really key and they all need to be taken into account when it comes to selling to corporates. So like I mentioned, I did this deal, signed it off the week before last, I think. And I've been working on this outline with a specific team of this corporate organisation. I won't say the name of the company, but if you want to reach out to me and find out who it is directly, then I'll tell you. Reach out to me and I'll talk to you. But so I did the deal with this team, and as I say, we've secured, or I've secured with my team, over £120,000 of a business in a period of time, and the reality is that's just this project. I've probably, if I was to look at the numbers, I've probably done in the region of nearly, £300,000 worth of business with this client over the course of the last couple of years. So it's been a great opportunity for me to work with them. They enjoy working with me and I enjoy working with them, and it's a great fit. But to do that takes work and takes time. And it started actually, and that's the first point I talked to you about starting with corporates, is get an entry point. And I started working with someone in that organisation around about 4.5 years ago. So I started working with someone around when COVID was happening. Is it just before COVID? Just after COVID, I think it was, when I started doing some webinars, and I got introduced to someone from a webinar that then won a competition that I offered, and then decided after that he enjoyed the work that I do and wanted to carry on. So the first thing about selling into corporates is get an entry point into an organisation. And sometimes that entry point, it doesn't matter where that person can be. The person that I was engaging with wasn't the key people that made the decision that they have recently, but I had an entry point into working with him. And that enabled me to understand more about not just that particular person, but the company that he worked with and what went on. And understanding the organisation and the people that he worked with and basically what went on in this bigger, wider puzzle. And he's probably one of, there's probably 500-600 people maybe in this company, maybe more, could be more, maybe more, maybe 700-800, I don't know. But he's one person into that. So the first point is start of an entry point. Try and see if you can if you want to sell into a corporate, try and work your way into an entry point, someone you know, or build that initial relationship with someone to get started. But then the second point of selling to corporates is understand and accept that you've got to build multiple relationships. So I built the relationship with the person that I initially engaged with. And as a result of that, other people were then asking some questions around what he was doing. And because we were having an impact and I was helping him achieve success, he was able to then tell other people, I'm working with this person. And that then made open up some doors for in an area of the company in training and development, which is where I do a lot of my work, where people ask some questions around what it is that he was doing. And at the time, there happened to be another requirement that our company had. And because they'd seen that this person was working with me, they then asked a question about him, and he said it was really positive, and we opened up a dialogue and a conversation. So accept that in that organization, when you sell into a corporate, that you're going to have to build multiple relationships. And if I look at the organization now that I'm talking about, I probably have conversations, work with 50, 60 people in that organization compared to when I only started with one. I know different people in the organization. I'm working with different teams of the organization now because of the impact that it's having and the positive results it's achieving for them. So you're going to accept that you're going to build different relationships in the organization and accept that there are multiple people involved in the process. Of course, there are always, chief executives and senior people, but sometimes in these corporates, those people are difficult to get hold of or difficult to access. If you've got an entry point into them or a link to them or a connection to them, that's amazing. But sometimes you've got to start at different levels to get to where you want to get to. So accept that, you need to build multiple relationships. And on that point, accept that that you'll need to adjust your presentation and your conversation when you talk to different types of people. So the person that I spoke to initially has a role in the organization. It's a key role. They're important in what they do. But when I was then being introduced to other people in other teams, so for example, in different areas of the organization, into the sales team or into the learning and development team or into the different divisions of the company, except that there are different people that are going to have a different set of requirements, thoughts, processes that go on. And one of my skills, and that I'm very good at being able to do, is to be able to try and understand the other person in that role and what they're going through and what their criteria for success are and what makes them achieve what they achieve. And I'm able to adapt my message on what I do. It's all based upon the same theme, but I'm able to adapt it based upon the person that I'm talking to and to get that reaction and result. And the reason being is because someone in IT, for example, will have a different set of requirements to someone, for example, in HR to compare to someone in sales or marketing. So the ability to understand what that audience is and what the group of people are and what their criteria are is really key. And so you do need to be able to adjust your approach. If you go in with just one approach and can't be flexible to adjust, not saying be a different type of person, but just know that your solution offering need to be adjusted in certain ways. That's going to be a big factor in helping you there. So accept that there's multiple people involved in the process, but accept that you need to adjust what you do as part of that. But the other key thing I'll talk about, when it comes to selling into corporates, is accept that it takes time. So, there are some times when I might have, got the business from, you work with someone and you can go in and do some business, quite big business straight away. But I'm actually I've started working with another corporate organisation at the moment. I had an entry point in, and I've got them to, they introduced me to another department who then had some conversations, and I've been in and done some work with them, and we're now starting that ball rolling. But whilst I'd love to be in a position where they might generate some income over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, reality is that's going to probably take 10 to 12 months at least for me to get the momentum that I want with them. I'm not going to expect to do 100k with them tomorrow. Don't get me wrong, if they ask me to do a proposal or project, I'll happily quote for it. But the reality is that accept that it takes time. For me to get the deal done that I had, it would that have happened when they just met me? No, probably not. They would have been a little bit unsure. But because now the organisation that I'm talking about have met me, they've worked with me, I've delivered programs and worked for them, they know the quality that I produce and the impact it has, and therefore they're comfortable investing more in that area. So accept that it takes time to go through this process. Now, some people don't want to be patient. Some people don't have the time. Some people push the move too soon. There are plenty of times over the last 6 to 12 months where if I'd have pressed the wrong buttons too soon and be too pushy or too angsty at certain points in time, there's no doubt I could have lost the opportunity that I did. But I was patient. I bided my time. I waited to accept what that organisation, the people in that organisation would go through and the different challenges, which leads me on to my next point in a moment. And I got my rewards in the end. So you have to be patient and accept that things take time. I did a podcast recently on forecasting. You understand that don't forecast big numbers straight away too much. You see, and I see too many people that want to sell into corporates that try and see the numbers go big early doors. It just doesn't happen that way. If you look at some of the best, take food for example. People say, "Oh, I want to sell into big supermarkets." even if you were to sell it, you've got an amazing product that you sell into a supermarket, the chance of a big supermarket taking you and putting you in all their stores straight away is non-existent. What they will do is they'll sample it and trial it, and if it starts to go well, then they'll do more and more and more. But that's the way organizations and corporates like that work. So just accept and respect that. So the other point, to the element around it takes time is to build proof and to accept that they have a series of hoops that you have to jump through and conversations that you've got to go through to get to where you want to be. And some people, again, their focus on business is really simple, which is I offer this, I do it for this, and this is the result I want. And if you don't do it, tough, I'm not interested. And these are my terms, this is where I want to work, and if you don't like it, tough. And in which case, then that's fine. You may get away with it. If you've got a completely unique solution that is so in demand and that so many people can't get from anyone else, then you may well get that chance. But invariably, in what I do, which is training, in training for helping people build their skills and their knowledge and their understanding of people to grow their business, there are other people that do what I do. I'm unique in me, but I also understand that they have other choices. So I don't push too far. I don't push buttons with people that I shouldn't do at the wrong time, because I know that's just going to put them off me. So accept that there is a decision process to work through, and that isn't always going to be smooth and simple. Yeah, the way these organizations tend to work is they tend to have budgets in different pots in different areas, and people will use different aspects of different places to get things done. But if you start chasing one avenue only and start pushing down a path to get something, you might find that then means that you've put your eggs in one basket and it moves the budget's moved to a different area. I've had an experience of a similar organisation, not this one I'm working with now, where a budget was moved in mid-year from one department to another as a result of some macro changes that were going on in the industry. So it wasn't their fault. It was just the fact that things changed. So accept that the process isn't smooth, that there will be ups and downs, there will be things that happen that go within that, and try not to do what a lot of people do in business, and they get really frustrated and annoyed when deals don't happen when they say they will. Again, in the situation I mentioned, I could have got arsey with them, I could have got difficult with them, but all that would have meant is they would have gone stuff you and found someone else. They know their power of corporates, and so your best way to be able to do that is to engage and to accept that the nuances of how they are. The other point I'll say to you about building relationships with corporates is to respect and look after people. So one of the things I've definitely done in the organisation that I work with is I'm very respectful of their time, and I'm respectful of who they are. And I also I will do some simple small things now and again, such as sending a box of brownies or some cakes or whatever as a thank you. So what I try and do is most of these organisations corporately have a gift policy, so they don't. You can't just go and take them somewhere or do something. They can't do that. But most of them are able to accept a box of brownies or a box of cakes or whatever else as a small gift to thank you. And that helps what I call, my dad always used to say this to me, you oil the wheels of motion. And when you oil the wheels of motion, you basically, when things are happening in certain areas, you make things trigger as a result of that. And I've been in a position where I've looked after people in those areas. I've taken that for some lunch and bought them a coffee or bought them a cake or whatever, just because I want to say thank you firstly, but also that showing that gratitude and that respect goes a long way. People feel happy, and then it builds their affinity of what you do to share with other colleagues as a result of that. So the other key thing around this is being known for something and be clear about what you do. Have a point of difference. I did mention that a few points ago, but this deal that I've done recently with this organisation is based around one set of training that I've done about how to understand different types of buyers and different types of people, so that you can react and respond in the right way to them and get the results you want. And I did it with a group of people, and the reaction from that first group was really positive. And as a result of that, they were in a position where they wanted to then get more people to do it. And as a result of that, they then put me into another group which did something else. And now I'm now doing something at the course or the outline of which I started. I'm now rolling out across 120 people in their organisation. Now, there's more potential people I could do this with. Every time we do it, people like it. They like the reaction, the responses, and it works really, really well. So the fact is, there are lots of things that we can do here that can really work nicely. And I really encourage people to be known for something. In that organisation, be known for something that you do, that you can make a point of difference on, that you can be the unique thing for. And I know in this organisation that I'm working with, When someone talks about this specific training that's been adding value, they talk about me and they talk about the process that I'm working with them on, and that enables me to work with different departments in different areas. So definitely focus on that side of things and what your point of difference is, and be clear about that. And sometimes you're better off to be known. Don't want to pigeonhole yourself, but be known for something rather than necessarily known for loads of things. I know in this organisation I'm known for sales and understanding buyers and achieving business growth, and so you want to be in the same position when it comes to what you offer. And the reason that, to link to that point as well from there, is the reason that resonates is because, and I have this simple saying, and it works very well in corporates. Corporates use the term POs, or purchase orders. And I have a simple phrase that purchase orders follow pain. And ultimately, if what you solve is something that's helping them with a pain in their business, then they're going to be more inclined to have conversations with you. And I've done business with this organisation because I focus on areas of pain for them, which is around growing their business and bringing numbers in and closing new deals and understanding how to get better relationships and put those things in place. And I know that those things are high up on the agenda of the organisation, the board, and those people, because they report into another organisation where they have to share those details. So being able to focus in on pain and what those challenges are is critical. And if I was once told this really great, phrase that I always try and think about: is your business a vitamin or a painkiller? So if you think about that, is your business a nice to have, i.e. a vitamin? It's healthy to have, it's good for you, it will help you become stronger and fitter over time, or is it a painkiller that solves a problem right now? And if you can be in a position where your business can solve a problem right now that someone in that organisation has got, then you're going to be in a great position to work with them and hopefully grow your brand and reputation with them. And I guess sort of the final sort of point around this is if you are wanting to build in corporates, and there's a great way in which corporates like this are great, because once you do get into them and you get past their approval processes and their structural processes, you can start to work with different departments. So I started working with one person, and now I've worked with 4 different departments of that organisation. And it does take time, like I've said already, but when you get into doing that, they will do more and more business with you. And whilst I've got to continue to deliver, and I have no doubt if anyone's listening from any corporate organisation or this organisation, they might recognise themselves. My commitment to delivering high quality products and services and training for them is actually top of my agenda. I want to deliver high quality so that they continue to see the value, that it continues to see a return, and it makes them want to hire me again. I'm focused on doing that, and I know fully well that if I don't do that, and I don't deliver results, and I don't deliver things that make other people feel is great, then they will quite happily walk away from me and choose someone else. So always be focused on what the quality and the outcomes that you can achieve for people, but being able to show evidence of that. So when I was able to work with one different group in that company, I was able to show evidence to that group of how I'd done something similar in another area of their company. And whilst they sometimes even have some internal competition, these guys were able to look at it and go, wow, okay, you've done that. That's helped us. We know that if those people liked you in our company, then we're going to probably stand a better chance of liking you as well. So that ability, that familiarity with one group will lead to another as well. So look, I think I hope this video has given you some insights into selling to corporates. The thing I always say to them is there's no simple path to selling corporates. There is an up and down to this. There is, it takes time, it takes work, there's multiple hoops you've got to jump through. And when you're doing big deals and larger deals and winning larger business, there is no straight line to success. There is a process of change, and you've got to be adaptable to within that. And that's why I don't put all of my eggs into one basket. I don't have all of my business focused on this one organisation. I have a number of customers, and I work with a number of organisations to work with them to help them achieve what they want to, and this is one of them. But when you can build relationships with that organisation, as I say, I'm able to do business of over 6 figures, over £120,000 of business. It's just under 124, I think, is the actual figure that we're working with for the next 6 months. And that for a business that's like us is great to have. And we're really proud of that, and we can build on that and then utilize those skills to grow our business even more and grow my business even more. But it doesn't come easily. It takes work, it takes time, and it takes you having to accept that you've got to adjust your part of the process within that. So just be aware of that. It's a great opportunity, but also comes with its challenges. And you've got to be a bit patient, as I say. But if you do those things and have an offering that's unique and a bit different, then you can make incredible business in corporates and set you and your company up for what you want to achieve. So I hope that's been helpful to give you some insights into corporates. By the way, if you sell into corporates yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's worked for you? Put it in the comments section. Tell me what's been helpful for you, what's worked, what hasn't worked for you. Let me know so we can, again, help other people that listen to the podcast to get the results they want. But look, I hope this has been helpful. As I always do, I finish the podcast on an inspirational story. And I wanted just to share a story of a lady called Julianne Koepka. And she had an incredible story, actually. Her story was that she had two big stories to talk about that she was able to come back with. And on Christmas Eve, she flew on a flight that was struck by lightning. And the plane began to disintegrate in midair. And she found herself strapped to her seat, 2 miles above a rainforest in Peru. And she landed. She was the only person, the sole survivor of that flight. And she broke a collarbone, and she was bruised, and she'd broken a series of different bones. But she was now in the completely in the wilderness alone in the Peruvian rainforest. And she basically had to survive. And she found a small stream, and she waded down water in it to keep herself hydrated at the same time. And she had maggots in the jungle eating her. She had infections all over her body. But after 9 days, she was able to find a camp. And from that camp, she was airlifted to a hospital, and she was able to go back to her home. And it was told. There's a documentary called Wings of Hope, which is a great documentary, that covers Julianne Koepka's story. But I always think, wow, a flight came down in the middle of the jungle. Everyone would think it's impossible, but she survived. And again, that sort of inspirational story, even back from 1971. It keeps me, before I was born even, but I think those sort of stories and those sort of evidence of human courage and behaviours to achieve and overcome anything gives us hope to do everything that we want to do ourselves. So look, that's the story from Julianne Koepka. Hope you found it useful and inspirational. She survived the plane crash and maggots eating her and broken bones to survive. Hey, probably means that whatever we're going through today, we can survive as well if we keep our mind in the right place, as she did. So that's it for this week. As ever, I really appreciate your support and your ears. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Please rate it. If you haven't given us a rating, if you could, please rate us. That would help me so much. But also, if you could also just maybe share it with other people and tell other people about it as well. That will help get more stories and insights to give to you guys that can help you get the sales results you want, like in this case about selling into corporates. But that's it from this week. Hope you've enjoyed. Thanks ever so much for listening. And until next week, I'll see you then. Take care.